welcome to Whitespace, our weekly show where we talk about the news in the data center world.
We do.
Yes, and this is, I believe, episode 38, so well done, Peter.
Good.
And we'll start with the news from Delaware, was it?
That's right, Delaware. We've been following this story for quite a while, and Middletown, Delaware has a proposal for a data center in it, a 40 megawatt data center. Now, there's a trend at the moment for microgrids or cogeneration where you site your data center at the same place as a power supply in order to give yourself assured power. Mm-hmm. Some of these are fuel cell bloom boxes or whatever, and some of them, have some power available. This one, it's a 40 megawatt data center, and on the same site they want to build a 52.5 megawatt natural gas power generation plant, which would power the surrounding area when it's not required for the for the data center.
Yeah, because I guess you don't build a cogeneration plant in phases, right? You need the whole thing straight away.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what they're doing, or that's what they're asking to do, but the local residents don't like it because they wouldn't mind a data centre, but an actual sort of natural gas power generation plant is a bit more than they'd want. So there's been a lot of protests, and the authorities in Delaware are kind of taking a long while deliberating on this one. And what they've done now is they've given it a $7.5 million grant,
yes, while
not actually approving it. I mean, it's $7.5 million out of a $350 million total cost, but basically the bit of Delaware local government that is in charge of giving out this grant has said you can have it as long as you satisfy the other bits, the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, who are in charge of deciding whether this is good or bad for the environment. So in other words, you can have the money, but you've got to
work for it.
Yeah. With another little wrinkle on top of that, which is that the people behind this are still a little bit of a mystery, and another of the requirements before they get the money is they have to give more information about who is backing the project. So,
okay,
it's the story. Yeah.
Yes, and a couple of I think it was last year we had a story about the University of Delaware, mm-hmm. which they had a similar proposal, cogeneration plant with a data center, and then after protests and students complaining, they actually threw the project out.
Yes.
So the state has a tradition of sort of like sidelining these projects.
Yes.
And it's a real danger.
Yeah, and there's a suggestion that there may be the same people involved in this one. Right, and Max,
yes.
You're back from Las Vegas, where you've had a lovely time. I know, because you told me what a lovely time you had with EMC.
Yes, I'm still a little bit shell-shocked, but yes, EMC World once again at the Venetian in Las Vegas, and once again, like everybody's having fun times, there are people in their swimming gear, and also you get hundreds of, suits going to their sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this year's EMC World was interesting for several reasons. One, it's the merger with Dell.
So it's the last ever EMC World.
I don't think so, basically, because they talked a little bit about how they're going to keep the brands, and maintain, and who's going to manage what. But Michael Dell was there. Mm-hmm. There was also gratuitous Dell promotion, mm-hmm. where they would say like, oh yeah, but until the deal is closed, we're not actually going to promote Dell. By the way, this XPS laptop, isn't that wonderful? Mm-hmm. And they had Dell servers on stage, and basically, the presence was very, very much felt. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting because obviously everybody wants to know about the merger, but people who can talk about the merger are few and far between. So you had endless sessions where people would ask the same questions about Dell, and the execs in the chair would be like, we don't know. We don't know what they think. We don't know if it's going to work out. It's sort of like, basically, you needed Michael Dell everywhere.
So a little repeating refrain in every session. Can you tell us about the merger? No, we can't.
Yes. Anyway.
Products.
There were so many products. So I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm just talking about two.
Okay.
One is the Virtustream Storage Cloud. So a year ago, EMC acquired Virtustream, their cloud provider. It was a fairly unusual acquisition for them, and now Virtustream is a cloud provider, but their model is unusual. Basically, what they do is it's not standard virtualization. It's they break virtual machines into smaller components. So like with the classic virtual machine, you still need overhead in terms of like when your compute and storage requirements go up and down, memory as well. These guys, they basically split the virtual machine into smaller components, and they always right size your virtual machine for your workload, so never any overhead.
Okay.
And yeah, now they've launched a cloud storage service aimed squarely at EMC. So basically the idea is you have your array on premise, and when it needs a little bit more oomph, you branch out into the cloud instantly. And yes, so the second product announcements from the show is they launched a new family of storage arrays, which is like they're fairly traditional, sort of like until very recently they had 2, maybe 3 major product lines, and that was it. Now they started expanding very quickly. So they had earlier this year they launched something called the DSSD, and that was sort of like a big flash box with custom built sort of media sleds. So they're not SSDs, they're sort of like these weird things, and crazy flash density, great performance, very expensive. But not everyone can do very expensive, so what they've done now is they launched Unity. Unity starts at 10 grand for a hybrid version or 18 grand for an all-flash version, and it's basically a 2U box. If you need a little bit of flash, well, there you go. It's sort of like fully redundant, dual controllers, you can stick loads of flash in there, and it's sort of like as capacities of the drives themselves will be increasing, EMC said they're going to roll them out straight away, so it might like quadruple its flash density by the end of the year.
Quick update from Ashburn,
yes,
which could claim to be the data center capital of the world, being that it's 20% of the data center market in America, because there's a huge fiber node there, and it's bigger than New York, and it's just in the way of getting bigger still. There's a company called USA Fiber, which is building a fiber ring conduit system around all the local data centers. And finally, ASHRAE, the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Engineers, the influential body in buildings and making buildings more energy efficient, is still working on making its data center energy efficiency specification 90.4p. They've already had sort of controversy with this one because they wanted to build in the PUE standard into it, power usage effectiveness. They wanted to say that in order to reach a certain grade or under this standard, data centers should reach a particular level of PUE. And since PUE depends on where you are on the planet, we're going to have a table of PUE levels required, which will be different between Alaska and Florida and elsewhere in the globe. Whoa. So, yeah, I think people decided this was too complicated and there were better ways of doing it. So that's no longer in it. But there are still other changes going on. This is now the 4th comment period on this, so it will run again. And if you look at our story on site, or go to the ASHRAE site, you can find the place where you can add your comments, because I'm sure people watching this will have ideas on how ASHRAE's standard could be made good. The Green Grid will have comments to add to this, and other data center industry bodies are contributing and sharing the link out and getting their members. So there will be lobbying going on for particular ways of dealing with data center energy efficiency. And what comes out of this will be interesting for particular dimensions of interesting.
It's almost a political process, right? So they'll launch a consultation and there's going to be probably some voting involved.
Yes, it's not quite a presidential primary.
Good.
Excellent. So I think that's all for this week. Thank you for joining us for White Space. It's a sunny day in London. I think it's time we left the studio and got outside, don't you, Max?
Yeah, get some fresh air.
Right. Thank you. See you next week, everyone.
Bye-bye.